The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, translated by George Long, Book 5. In the morning, when you rise unwillingly, let this thought be present. I am rising to do the work of a human being. Why then am I dissatisfied if I am going to do the things for which I exist and for which I was brought into the world? Or have I been made for this, to lie in the bed and keep myself warm? But this is more pleasant. Do you exist then to take your pleasure and not at all for action or exertion? Do you not see the little plants, the little birds, the ants, the spiders, the bees working together to put in order their several parts of the universe? And you are unwilling to do the work of a human being, and you do not make haste to do that which is according to your nature. But it is necessary to take rest also. It is necessary. However, nature has fixed bounds to this too. She has fixed bounds both to eating and drinking, and yet you go beyond these bounds, beyond what is sufficient. Yet in your acts it is not so, but you stop short of what you can't do. So you love not yourself, for if you did love yourself, would you love nature and her will? But those who love their several arts exhaust themselves in the working at them, unwashed and without food. But you value your own nature less than the turner values of the turner art, or the dancer the dancing art, or the lover of money values his money, or the vainglorious man his little glory. And such men, when they have a violent affection for a thing, choose neither to eat nor sleep, rather than go to perfect the things for which they care. But are the acts which concern society more vile in your eyes and less worthy of your labor? How easy it is to repel and wipe away every impression which is troublesome or unsuitable, and immediately to be in all tranquillity. Judge every word and deed which are according to the nature to be fit for you, and be not diverted by the blame which follows from any person, nor by their words. But if a thing is good and is to be done or said, do not consider it unworthy of yourself. For those persons who have peculiar leading principle and follow their peculiar movement, which things do you not regard, but go straight on, following your own nature and the common nature, and the way of both is one. I go through the things which happen according to nature until I shall fall and rest, breathing out my breath into the element out of which I daily draw it in, and falling upon the earth that out of which my father collected the seed, and my mother the blood, and my nurse the milk, out of which during so many years I have been supplied with food and drink, which bears me when I tread on it and abuse it for so many purposes. You say, men cannot admire the sharpness of your wit. Be it so, but there are many other things which you can't say. I am not formed for them by nature. Show these qualities then, which are altogether in your power: sincerity, gravity, endurance of labor, aversion to pleasure, contentment with thy portion and with few things, benevolence, frankness, no love of superfluity, freedom from trifling magnanimity. Do you not see how many qualities you have immediately able to exhibit, in which there is no excuse of natural incapacity or unfitness, and yet you still remain voluntarily below the mark? Or are you compelled through being defectively furnished by nature to murmur, and to be stingy, and to flatter, and to find fault with your poor body, and to try to please men, and to make great display, and be so restless in your mind? No, by the gods, by thou mightest have been delivered from these things long ago. But in truth you cannot be charged with being rather slow and dull of comprehension. You must exert yourself about this also, not neglecting it, nor yet taking pleasure in thy dullness. One man, when he has done a service to another, is ready to set it down in his own account as a favor conferred. Another is not ready to do this, but in his own mind thinks he to the man a debtor, and he knows what he has done. A third, in a manner, does not even know what he has done, but he is like a vine which has produced grapes and seeks nothing more after it has been once produced its proper fruit. As a horse when he has run, a dog when he has tracked the game, a bee when he has made the honey, so a man, when he has done a good act, does not call out for others to come and see, but goes on to another act, as a vine goes on to produce again the grapes in season. Must a man then be one of these, who in a manner act without observing it? Yes, but this very thing is necessary, the observation of what a man is doing. For it may be said, it is characteristic of the social animal to perceive that he is working in a social manner, and indeed to wish that his social partner should also perceive it. It is true what you say, but you do not rightly understand what is now said, and for this reason you will become one of those of whom I spoke before. For even they are misled by a certain show of reason. But if you will choose to understand the meaning of what is said, do not fear for this reason you will omit any social act. A prayer of the Athenians. Rain, rain, O dear Zeus, down on the plowed fields of the Athenians and on the plains. In truth, we ought not to pray at all, or if we ought to pray, do so in this simple and noble fashion. Just as we must understand when it is said that Ecclesias prescribed to this man horse exercise, or bathing in cold water, or going without shoes, so we must understand it when it is said that the nature of the universe prescribed to this man disease, or mutilation, or loss, or anything else of the kind. For in the first case, prescribed means something like this. He prescribed for this man as a thing adapted to procure health, and in the second case it means that which happens to, or suits, every man is fixed in a manner for him suitably to his destiny. For this is what is said when we mean what we say, that things are suitable to us, as the workmen say of squared stones in walls or the pyramids, that they are suitable when they fit them to one another in some kind of connection. For there is altogether one fitness, harmony, and in the universe is made up of all bodies to be such a body as it, so out of all existing causes, necessity, that is, destiny, is made up to be such a cause as it is. And even though those who are completely ignorant understand what I mean, for they say, it, necessity, destiny, brought this to such a person. This then was brought, and this was prescribed to him. Let us then receive these things as well as those which Asclepius prescribes. Manner as a matter of course, even among his prescriptions, are disagreeable, but we accept them in the hope of health. Let the perfecting and accomplishment of the things which the common nature judges to be good be judged by you to be of the same kind as your health. And so everything accepts everything which happens, even if it seems disagreeable, because it leads to this, to the health of the universe and to the prosperity and felicity of Zeus, that is, the universe. For he would not have brought on any man what he has brought if it were not useful for the whole. Neither does the nature of anything, whatever it may be, cause anything which is not suitable to that which is directed by it. For two reasons, then, it is right to be content with what happens to thee. The one, because it was done for thee, and prescribed to thee, and in a manner that had reference to thee, originally from the most ancient causes spun with your destiny. And the other, because even that which comes severally to every man is to the power which administers the whole universe a cause of felicity and perfection, nay, even of its own continuance. For the integrity of the whole is mutilated, if thou cuttest off anything whatever from the conjunction and continuity either of the parts or of the causes. And if you do cut them off, as far as it is in your power, when you are dissatisfied, and in a manner you try to put anything out of the way. Do not be disgusted, nor discouraged, nor dissatisfied if you do not succeed in doing everything according to the right principles, but when you have failed, return back again and be content if the greater part of what you do is consistent with man's nature, and love this to which you return. And do not return to philosophy as if she were a master, but act as those who have sore eyes and apply a bit of sponge and egg, or as another applies a plaster, or drenching with water. For you thus will not fail to obey reason if you will respond to it. And remember that philosophy requires only the thing which thy nature requires. But you would have something else which is not according to nature. It may be objected, why, what is more agreeable than this which I am doing, the very reason why pleasure deceives us? And consider if magnanimity, freedom, simplicity, equanimity, piety are not more agreeable. For what is more agreeable than wisdom itself, when you think of the security and the happy course of all things which depend on the faculty of understanding and knowledge? Things are in such a kind of envelopment that they have seemed to philosophers, not a few, nor those common philosophers, altogether unintelligible. Nay, even to the Stoics themselves they seem difficult to understand. And all our assent is changeable, for where is the man who never changes? Carry your thoughts then to the objects themselves, and wherever they are, consider how short-lived they are and worthless, that they may be in the possession of a filthy wretch, or a whore, or a robber. Then turn to the morals of those who live with you, and it is hardly possible to endure even the most agreeable of them, to say nothing of a man being hardly able to endure himself. In such darkness then, and in dirt, and in such a constant flux both of substance and of time, and of motion, and of things moved, what there is worth being highly prized, or even in an object of serious pursuit, I cannot imagine. But on the contrary, it is a man's duty to comfort himself, and to wait for the natural dissolution, and not to be vexed at the delay, but to rest in these principles only. The one, that nothing will happen to me which is not conformable to the nature of the universe, and the other, that it is in my power never to act contrary to my God or my Daemon, for there is no man who will compel me to this. About what am I now employing my own soul? On every occasion I must ask myself this question and inquire, what have I now in this part of me which they call the ruling principle? And whose soul have I now, that of a child, or of a young man, or of a feeble woman, or of a tyrant, or of a domestic animal, or of a wild beast? What kind of things are those which appear good to many? We may learn even from this. For if any man should conceive certain things as being really good, such as prudence, temperance, justice, fortitude, he would not, after having first conceived these, endure to listen to anything which should not be in harmony with what is really good. But if a man has first conceived as good the things which appear to the many to be good, he will listen and readily receive as very applicable that which is said by the comic writer. Thus, even the many perceive the difference. For were it not so, this saying would not offend and would not be rejected in the first case, while we receive it when it is said of wealth and of the many things which further luxury and fame, as said fitly and wittily. Go on, then, and ask if we should value and think those things to be good, to which, after their first conception in the mind, the words of the comic writer might be aptly applied, that he who has them through pure abundance has not a place to ease himself in. I am composed of the formal and the material, and neither of them will perish into non-existent, as neither of them came into existence from non-existence. Every part of me, then, will be reduced by the change into some part of the universe, and that again will change into another part of the universe, and so on forever. And by consequence of such a change, I too exist, and those who begot me, and so on forever in the other direction. And nothing hinders us from saying so, even if the universe is administered according to definite periods of revolution. Reason and the reasoning art, that is, philosophy, are powers which are sufficient for themselves and for their own works. They move then from a first principle which is their own, and they make right their way to the end which is proposed to them. And this is the reason why such acts are named katharesis, or right acts, which word signifies that they proceed by the right road. None of these things ought to be called a man's, which do not belong to a man, as man. They are not required of man, nor does man's nature promise them, nor are they the means of man's nature attaining its end. Neither then does the end of man lie in these things, nor yet that which aids to the accomplishment of this end, and that which aids towards this end is that which is good. Besides, if any of these things did belong to man, it would not be right for a man to despise them and to set himself against them, nor would a man be worthy of praise who showed that he did not want these things, nor would he who stinted himself in any of them be good, if indeed these things were good. But now the more of these things a man deprives himself of, or of the things like them, or even when he is deprived of any of them, the more patiently he endures the loss, just as in the same degree he is a better man. Such are thy habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind, for the soul is dyed by the thoughts. Dye it then with a continuous series of these thoughts as these. For instance, that where a man can live, there he can also live well. But he must live in a palace. Well then, he can also live well in a palace. And again, consider that for whatever purpose each thing has been constituted, for there it has also been constituted, and towards this it is carried, and its end is in that towards which it is carried, and where the end is, there also is the advantage and the good of each thing. Now the good for the reasonable animal is society, for that we are made for society has been shown above. Is it not plain that the inferior exist for the sake of the superior? But the things which have life are superior to those which have no life, and of those which have life are superior to those who have reason. To seek what is impossible is madness, and it is impossible that the bad should not do something of this kind. Nothing happens to any man which he is not formed by nature to bear. The same things happen to another, and either because he does not see that they have happened, or because he would show a great spirit, he is firm and remains unharmed. It is a shame, then, that ignorance and conceit should be stronger than wisdom. Things themselves touch not the soul, nor in the least degree, nor have they admission to the soul, nor can they turn or move the soul. But the soul turns and moves itself alone, and whatever judgments it may think proper to make, such it makes for itself the things which present themselves to it. In one respect, man is the nearest thing to me, so far as I must do good to men and endure them. But so far as some men make themselves obstacle to my proper acts, becomes to me one of the things which are indifferent, no less than the sun, or the wind, or a wild beast. Now it is true that these may impede my action, but they are no impediments to my affects and disposition, which have the power of acting conditionally and changing. For the mind converts and changes every hindrance to the activity into an aid, so that which is a hindrance is made a furtherance to the act, and that which is an obstacle on the road helps us on this road. Reverence that which is best in the universe, and that is this which makes all things and directs all things, and in like manner also reverence that which is best for yourself, and this is the same kind as that. For in you also that which makes use of everything else is this, and your life is directed by this. That which does no harm to the state does no harm to the citizen. In the case of every appearance of harm, apply this principle. If the state is not harmed by this, neither am I harmed. But if the state is harmed, thou must not be angry with him who does harm the state. Show him where his error is. Often think of the rapidity with which things pass by and disappear, both the things which are and the things which are produced. For substance is like a river with a continual flow, and the activities of all things are in constant change. And the causes work in infinite varieties, and there is hardly anything which stands still. And consider this which is near to you, this boundless abyss of the past and of the future in which all things disappear. How then is he not a fool who is puffed up with such things and plagued about them and makes himself miserable? For they vex him only for a time, and a short time. Think of the universal substance, which you have but a small portion, and of universal time, which is a short and indivisible interval which has been assigned to you, and of that which is fixed by destiny, and how small a part of it you are. Does another do me wrong? Let him look to it. He has his own disposition, his own activity. I now have what the universal nature wills me to have, and I do what my nature now wills me to do. Let the part of your soul which leads and governs be undisturbed by the movements of the flesh, whether of pleasure or of pain, and let it not unite with them, but let it circumscribe itself and limit those affects to their parts. But when these affects rise up to the mind by virtue of that other sympathy that naturally exists in the body, which is all one, then you must not strive to resist the sensation, for it is natural, but let not the ruling part of itself add to the sensation the opinion that it is either good or bad. Live with the gods, and if he does not live with the gods who constantly shows to them, his own soul is satisfied with that which is assigned to him, and that it does all that the Daemon wishes, which Zeus has given to every man for his guardian and guide a portion of himself. And this is every man's understanding and reason. Are you angry with him whose armpits stink? Are you angry with him whose breath smells foul? What good will do this danger to you? He has such a mouth, he has such armpits. It is necessary that such an emanation must come from such things. But the man has reason, it is said, and he is able, if he takes pain, to discover wherein he offends. I wish you well of your discovery. Well then, if you have reason, by your rational faculty, stir up your rational faculty, show him his error, and admonish him. For if he listens, you will cure him, and if there is no need for anger, neither tragic actor nor whore. As you intended to live when you are gone out, so it is in thy power to live here. But if men do not permit you, then get away out of life, yet so far as if you were doing no harm, nor suffering no harm. The house is smoky, and I quit it. Why do you think that this is in any trouble? But as long as nothing of the kind drives me out, I remain. I am free, and no man shall hinder me from doing what I choose. And I choose to do what is according to nature of the rational and social animal. The intelligence of the universe is social. Accordingly, it has made the inferior things for the sake of the superior, and it has fitted the superior to one another. You see how it is subordinated, coordinated, and assigned to everything its proper portion, and has brought together into concord one another the things which are best. How have you behaved hereunto now to the gods, to your parents, brethren, children, teachers, to those who looked after your infancy, to your friends, kinsfolks, or to your slaves? Consider if you have hereunto now behaved to all in such a way that it may be said of you, neither has wronged a man in deed or word, and call to recollection both how many things thou hast passed through, and how many things you have yet to be able to endure, and that the history of your life is now complete, and your service is ended, and how many beautiful things you have seen, and how many pleasures and pains you have despised, and how many things called honorable you have spurned, and how many ill-minded folks you have shown a kind disposition. Why do unskilled and ignorant souls disturb him who has skill and knowledge? What soul then has skill and knowledge? That which knows beginning and end, and knows the reason which pervades all substance and through all time by fixed periods, that is, revolutions, administers the universe. Soon, very soon, you will be ashes or a skeleton, or either a name or not even a name. But a name is sound and echo, and things which are very much valued in life are empty and rotten and trifling, and like little dogs biting one another, and little children quarreling, laughing, and then straightway weeping. But fidelity and modesty and justice and truth are fled. Up to Olympus on the widespread earth, what then is there which still detains you here? If the objects of sense are easily changed and never stand still, and the organs of perception are dull and easily receive false impressions, and the poor soul itself is an exhalation of blood, but to have good repute amidst such a world as this is an empty thing. Why then do you not wait in tranquility for your end, whether it is extinction or removal to another state? And until that time comes, what is sufficient? Why, what else than to venerate the gods, and to bless them, and to do good to men, and to practice tolerance and self-restraint? But as to everything which is beyond the limits of the poor flesh and breath, do remember that this is neither yours nor in your power. You can pass your life in equable flow of happiness if you can go by the right way and think and act in the right way. These things are common both to the soul of God and to the soul of man and to the soul of every rational being. Not to be hindered by another, but to hold good, to consist in the disposition to justice and the practice of it, and in this to let thy desire find its termination. If this is neither my own badness nor an effect of my own badness, and the common weal is not injured, why am I troubled about it? What is the harm to the common weal? Do not be carried along inconsiderably about the appearance of things, but give help to all, and according to your ability and their fitness. And if they should have sustained a loss in matters which are indifferent, do not imagine this to be a damage, for it is a bad habit. But as the old man, when he went away, asked back his foster child's top, remembering that it was a top, so do you in this case also. When thou art calling out on the rostra, have you forgotten, man, what these things are? Yes, but they are objects of great concern to these people. Will you too, then, be made a fool for these things? I was once a fortunate man, but I lost it, and I know not how. But fortunate means that a man has assigned to himself a good fortune, and a good fortune is a good disposition of the soul, good emotions, and good actions.